But Fred Reedholm used to say, and I used to love it, he said, everybody in Europe was saying, where'd all the copper come from? He
Yes.
said, everybody in Michigan saying, where did all the copper?
Where's it all go? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the ocean was an open highway, the superest of highways, and there was never the problem crossing that ocean that the authorities have placed on it. They said, no, you can't do that. One thing, people who were coming, and people came to this continent, people did mining on this continent. The copper mines in Upper Peninsula of Michigan and up on Isle Royal,
Right. Yes.
between 7,000 BC and 5,000 BC and 1,200 BC, mined 1 billion pounds of copper. 1 billion pounds.
Amazing, isn't it?
Engineers have said they took at least this much copper out of there. Now, we can account for 20,000 pounds of that 1 billion pounds. Now, where in the heck did the rest of it go? Well, you merely have to look at where is copper being used. We're talking of the Bronze Age.
Yes.
Europe did not have the amount of copper necessary to produce what was produced in the Bronze Age. So it had to come from someplace. And Michigan copper is 99.99% pure copper. If you just find a nugget, you've got solid copper. The late Fred Reedholm said that the majority of copper that went out of there didn't even come from the mines. He said it was laying on top of the ground.
Wow.
The float copper, so-called, where the glaciers came through and scraped the ore off and left it in pieces laying around. We worked on saving a piece, which we did save it. We were trying to save it for the ancient American people up in Michigan. A piece of copper that weighed 58,000 pounds.
Wow.
Just by itself. Just, as they say, on foot. So much.
You've actually got to break up the pieces of copper. They're so big.
So much a pound for copper. That piece was worth $375,000 American dollars. It did get saved. The Chinese bought it, and they're exhibiting it now in China as the largest copper nugget in the world. Right. It's still the largest remaining one, but there have been much larger found up there.
I'm sure they picked off the best ones first, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Half of the electric lines in the world came out of that copper.
Well, this is an amazing thing, isn't it? Because I think there was, I know it was Peter Smith and other members of our group have been talking about wasn't there a ship discovered sunk in the Eastern Mediterranean? And they reckon that must have been Michigan copper.
Yeah, that's, you really have a hard time fingerprinting Michigan copper, because if you take it from one mine, and there are literally thousands of ancient mines, if you take it from one mine, it's got one fingerprint. If you take it from another mine, it's got another fingerprint. But this ship that went down that had oxide copper on it, we think that is Michigan copper. Now, there's something that shows up every once in a while in Michigan copper, and it only shows up one other place in the world. It has to come from either Michigan or Brazil, and that is if it's got gold or silver in the copper.
Wow.
That's only natural in two places on the planet, Michigan area, Lake Superior area.
So that's a real signature mark then, if you find that.
Yeah. Now, when the Chinese, when they discovered the Xian warriors, the terracotta warriors.
Yep.
There was a bronze statue of a man on a horse, about double size. And,
yes, I've heard of that. I think yes.
Yeah, and the Chinese did a test on it, and they said, we found traces of silver in this statue, but we have no idea where it comes from. And I said,
So we did, yeah.
Hello.
Because
it's the same thing, you know, in Michigan.
Any idea? Sorry, any idea when any idea on the dating of those Chinese objects to give an idea when the Chinese were there? Then, I mean, is it very ancient or?
They know the. We're talking. What is that? Probably somewhere around 1000 BC. That
Wow.
emperor. That, you know, but you know, if you look at that much copper going out between 5000 BC and 1200 BC, that is the Bronze Age. We think that copper went to Cyprus and was delivered around over Europe.
Right.
And Cyprus was the main
the trading point.
Yeah, the main trading point. And Cyprus didn't have any copper, but they were the major traders.
They didn't have any. Yeah.
They were the major traders of copper. So we think that was the kickoff point.
So maybe they knew the secret routes or something.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, it just occurred to me. I was looking at a map, and it was showing routes of certain things, and then at one point it stopped, didn't show any more routes, and it said, and I love this, it said, "Beyond here there be dragons."
That's it. Yeah.
We don't want you to go there.
Yeah, there's nothing to see over here. Yeah. No great wealth just lying on the ground for you to pick it up, fill your pockets.
You're going to get eaten up by a dragon if you.
Yeah, you don't want to try that. Yeah.
So that was part of it. That's why there was so much secrecy about the sea travel, you know. But
well, the wealth was enormous, isn't it? By the sound of it.
Oh yeah, totally so.
So what about? So one thing that's curious to me. Well, I've heard about this. I didn't know much about it. I've heard of this copper before. Is there? It doesn't seem to be much evidence for metalworking on the American side, though.
Well, no, everything on the American side, except 2 or 3 instances, and it's debatable. It doesn't appear to be smelted. It's pounded out copper, but you know, who knows when you're talking that far back? You know, we find that there are conceivably furnaces, especially in the Iron Age, furnaces that are in Europe are thousands of years old. The same kind of furnace when the Iron Age started, when smelting started. Those kind of furnaces existed in the Americas also. Especially in the Ohio Valley area, and some discovered in Virginia. But those furnaces were also used in down into historical time. You know, you got the same kind of furnace used in ancient times as in historical times, and you really have an incredible problem of trying to date.
That
furnace.
Yeah, stones and metal and things are even more difficult than other things to take, aren't they? Yeah. But you'd have thought there'd be some sort of artifacts or something found, wouldn't you? I mean,
well,
it's not so difficult to make an arrowhead or something. It would be more effective than a stone or a bare wood one, isn't it?
Well, there are all sorts of copper arrowheads, but the smelted arrowheads, there are only 1 or 2 instances of copper that we can look at and say, this looks like it was smelted. But there are also hints of things that up in Michigan. I took the group up there just to see this in a casino up there, an Indian casino, First Nations people casino. They have in a glass case a dugout canoe, and it's about it's almost 50 foot long, big thing. But it's got 3 iron bars through it.
Oh, it does. Okay.
And they've carbon dated the wood, and the woods way before anybody was supposed to be here with iron bars. And so what they're saying is, well, the Indians made it, the First Nation people made it, and then dropped it someplace, and
Right.
and the Europeans came along and settled the country, and they found this canoe that was in bad shape, and they put iron bars through to repair it.
Right. Yes. Why you go to that trouble? Yes.
That's how I'm saying, wait a minute, they had big trees. It
Yeah.
would take
Easy
them
to
much
make a new
less time
canoe.
to
Yeah.
make a new canoe than it would be to try to repair one that was splitting. But that kind of thing fascinates me.
Yes.
That's a mystery that says, wait a minute, think simply, think logically, and would anybody do this or that? And what is the iron doing through that ancient canoe?
Yeah. Then you can start thinking about who did it and all those kind of things later.
Yeah.
Just the first one, establish the basic information, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the way it goes now, some European has figured in some way or another that of historical times rather than ancient times. Either De Soto did it, or Cortez did it, or Coronado did it, or somebody that came historically that we know about, and they say,
yes.
yeah, he done that.
That Cortez is one busy guy. He seems to crop up everywhere. Yeah.
Oh, he's
amazingly well traveled. Yeah, it just struck me, if the copper was lying around like that, you wouldn't bother smelting it, would you? I suppose you just, if it's almost 100% pure anyway, you could just bash it with a hammer and off you go, or whatever you used.
Yeah, they certainly, you get a piece of copper. If you get a piece of copper, a nugget that's 3 or 4 feet across, you can't lift it. I mean, the weight is enormous. So what if you get a piece that's 20 people can stand on? I mean, nobody around. So they had to break that down into smaller pieces. And one of the things that we looked for is the ancient Hammerstones.
Right.
In one mine up in Isle Royal, in one mine up there, they said what they estimated to be 1 million Hammerstones.
Wow.
1 million Hammerstones. Now, that's a lot of people pounding on a piece of copper.
Yes.
Several pieces of copper.
A lot of work going into that.
But that million Hammerstones is just minuscule. The most obvious tool where those mines are the Hammerstone. The modern mines, which were rediscovered, I should say,
right,
in 1847. We have in this country what's called the gold rush, the 49.
Oh yeah, 49ers, yeah.
Yeah, they went to, but that was not the big rush for metal. The big rush was the copper rush in 1847. I mean, it was massive compared to the 49ers. So happened that, the 49ers in San Francisco blossomed and that became the history. Yeah, but the 47 copper rush into Michigan was the massive metal rush on this continent. Everybody went to Michigan to work. And the way they discovered the modern mines, when they found massive piles of hammerstones, they said, dig here. and
this is where we go, yeah.
Yeah, and up until about 1910, 85% of the world's copper came out of Michigan.
Wow.
The world's copper. I mean, you figure in the Sinai Peninsula, you dig 5 ton of stone, and you get little trinkets of copper, and when you go to Michigan, you hear this stuff laying around in 1,000 tons on top of the ground. It was just
phenomenal.
Bizarre. There was one mine up in Michigan that they had 27 different levels of the mine. The bottom level stayed 100 degrees. the temperature. That's Fahrenheit, 100 Fahrenheit. Yeah. And the reason was it was getting closer to the molting center of the Earth as they went down these various levels. They couldn't go any lower. The
become unbearable. Yeah.
The copper's still up there. Underneath Lake Superior, there's a slab of copper that runs all the way across Lake Superior. It's just not, it's prohibitive to try to get it, but the copper's still there. They didn't use up all the copper. I mean, it's just now they figure they can move a mountain out in Montana and get more copper than they can this pure copper, which is up in.
So it's just not scarce at all in North America then.
No. North America, the West has plenty of copper, but they go through 5 ton of stone in Montana to get, I think it's like 100 pounds of copper. But they got the equipment now, and they destroy mountains and everything.
Yeah, it's on a massive scale, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of the scary things around here. There's millions and millions of tons of top quality anthracite coal still in the hills.
Right.
And it won't be sinking mines next time. There's up Merthyr, there's one hill. Excuse me. My children first I went past them, my children in tears, they said they killed the hill. And you got a hill, and they just cut away the whole hill. A hill on one side, just and these enormous trucks and hardly any people.
Yeah, that's what's happened where I grew up in Eastern Kentucky. Here it's called strip mining.
Strip mining, open cast, they call it more.
They just knock the mountain top off and get the stuff, and it's a disaster. It's a disaster to Mother Earth.
It's gross vandalism.
Yeah,
and also the historical side of it. I mean, it's just a pile after that, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the things I cry about.
Yeah. We were all very upset. My boys had a real emotional reaction because we took a wrong turn and ended up going quite close to the mine. I had no idea the scale of the operation. It was very upsetting. So I suppose if we go back to the early copper, I suppose the question is, if they are producing such vast quantities, and it doesn't seem to be much evidence of it being used in North America, then it must have been traded somewhere, mustn't it? I mean, where did it all go?
Absolutely. Now they're trying to say that that much copper wasn't produced.
Oh, I see. Right.
That's their only way out now.
Rather just answer the questions, change the evidence. Yeah.
It's a little bit like on Isle Royal, the island, which, by the way, Ben Franklin drew up the boundary lines, northern boundary lines of the U.S. It's just for the fun of it. Get you a map and look at the U.S. boundary line. Here it's going along like this, and then goes way up in Lake Superior and gets Isle Royal, and then comes back down.
To make sure they get all the lake.
He knew the copper was there, but he made sure. Isle Royal is 10 miles from the Canadian border, but you can go south 200 miles or more, and you're on one side you're in the U.S. But move over here and you're in Canadian waters, but
they're still going to claim it.
But anyway, they went in and started just identifying ancient mines. Now, ancient mines, you have to think in terms more of pits, not deep mines, but they surface mines on the ground. They would dig 10 or 15 feet down and go for miles getting the metal out. But they wouldn't go back in holes in the ground like modern mines. They drill a hole and go all the way back in, but that wasn't done in the ancient mines. Anyway, they went around and identified on Isle Royal. They started identifying mines. Well, they reached 1,000. And they said, there are too many, so we're not going to count anymore. Now you go back and look at the official record, and it will say there are 1,000 mines on Isle Royal. There are more like 50,000 mines on Isle Royal, but they only counted 1,000, so that's the official record. You know, so much copper came out that they have to get it down to a reasonable level. Otherwise, their story just doesn't hold up. But Fred Reedholm used to say, and I used to love it, he said, everybody in Europe was saying, where'd all the copper come from?
Yes.
Said, everybody in Michigan saying, where did all the copper
Where's it all go? Yeah.